Hello there, my dear gardening friends. It's a lovely day, isn't it? Perfect for talking about something truly exciting. We are going to explore the wonderful world of growing your own food, even if you think you don't have the space. Imagine, fresh greens, juicy tomatoes, fragrant herbs, all plucked right from your own home. This isn't some far-fetched dream, I assure you. It's something called hydroponics, a rather clever way of gardening without any soil at all. Hydroponics, at its heart, is about giving your plants exactly what they need directly to their roots. This means they can grow faster and healthier, often with less fuss than in traditional soil. So come along with me, let's embark on this green adventure together. So why choose hydroponics, you might be wondering? Well, my friends, the reasons are plentiful and quite compelling, especially for those of us living in urban jungles. One of the biggest advantages is the incredible efficiency with water. Traditional gardening, bless its heart, can be quite thirsty work, with a lot of water simply draining away or evaporating. Hydroponics, on the other hand, uses a closed-loop system. This means the water, enriched with all the lovely nutrients your plants need, is recirculated. Your plants take up what they require, and the rest stays in the system, ready for later. Another splendid benefit is the speed at which your plants can grow. Because the nutrients are delivered directly to the roots in a readily available form, the plants don't have to work so hard searching for them in the soil. You'll often find that your hydroponically grown veggies mature faster, sometimes up to 25% quicker, and the yields can be significantly higher too. Hydroponic systems can be wonderfully compact. You don't need a sprawling backyard. A small corner, a balcony, or even a vertical setup against a wall can be transformed into a productive garden. It's a more controlled environment, which means fewer surprises and more predictable results. Now, when it comes to hydroponic systems, there are a few different types out there, each with its own charm. You might hear about nutrient film technique, NFT, drip systems, or aeroponics. They are all fascinating in their own right. But for a beginner, for someone just dipping their toes into these wonderful waters, I wholeheartedly recommend starting with a deep water culture system, or DWC as it's fondly called. Why DWC, you ask? Well, my dear friends, its beauty lies in its sheer simplicity and affordability. The DWC system is wonderfully straightforward in its design. Essentially, your plants are suspended in net pots, with their roots dangling directly into a reservoir filled with oxygen-rich, nutrient-laden water. An air pump, much like one you'd find in a fish tank, bubbles air through an air stone placed in the water. This constant supply of oxygen to the roots is absolutely crucial for their health, and prevents them from, well, drowning. The plants get everything they need, water, nutrients, and oxygen directly and continuously. It's all about making your first foray into hydroponics a joyful and successful one, building your confidence along the way. Alright, green-fingered enthusiasts, let's talk about the bits and bobs you'll need to assemble your very own DWC hydroponic system. First up, you'll need a reservoir or container. This will hold your nutrient solution. A simple opaque plastic tub or bucket with a lid will do splendidly. Next on our list are net pots. These are small, mesh-like pots that will hold your plants and the growing medium. Then we have the growing medium. Inert materials like clay pebbles, often called hydroton or leca, perlite, or even cocoa coir, are excellent choices. Finally, the heart of the DWC system, the air pump, airline tubing, and air stone. And of course, you'll need hydroponic nutrients specifically formulated for growing plants in water, and a pH testing kit, or a digital pH meter, to ensure your nutrient solution is just right for your plants. Section 5. The grand setup, assembling your DWC system. Part 1. Preparation is key. Now that we've gathered all our essential bits and bobs, it's time for the exciting part, putting it all together. But hold your horses, my eager friends, because like any good gardener knows, preparation is absolutely key to success. Before we even think about planting, we need to make sure our main container, our reservoir, is perfectly ready. If you're using a brand new plastic tub, give it a good wash with soap and water, and then rinse it thoroughly. Once your container is sparkling clean, the next step, if it doesn't already have them, is to make holes in the lid for your net pots. Carefully measure the diameter of the top of your net pots just under the lip. You want the hole to be just big enough for the pot to sit snugly without falling through. Space the holes out nicely, ensuring there's enough room for your plants to grow without jostling each other too much. With the lid prepared, let's turn our attention to the growing medium. those lovely clay pebbles or whatever you've chosen. As I mentioned earlier, these often come with a bit of dust from transit and manufacturing, so it's very important to give them a thorough rinse. Section 6. The Grand Setup. Assembling your DWC system Part 2, bringing it all together. Right then, with all our preparations complete, it's time for the grand assembly. This is where your DWC system truly comes to life. First, let's connect the aeration system. Take your air pump and place it somewhere dry, ideally at a level slightly higher than your water reservoir. This prevents any water from siphoning back into the pump if there's a power cut, which is a clever little tip. Now, attach one end of your airline tubing to the outlet nozzle on the air pump. Cut the tubing to the required length so it can comfortably reach the bottom of your reservoir. Then, connect the other end of the tubing to your air stone. Next, gently place the air stone at the bottom of your clean reservoir right in the center if possible. You can now fill your reservoir with water. Filtered water or reverse osmosis, RO, water is ideal if your tap water is very hard or chlorinated, but good quality tap water left to stand for 24 hours to allow chlorine to dissipate can also work perfectly well for many plants. Fill it up, leaving a little bit of space, say an inch or two, from the top so it doesn't splash out when the air bubbles start their merry dance. Section 7. Planting your first green friends, easy choices for DWC success. With your DWC system bubbling away happily, it's time to introduce its first residents, your plants. For beginners, I always recommend starting with plants that are relatively easygoing and quick to reward your efforts. Leafy greens are absolutely fantastic choices. Think of lovely crisp lettuce varieties like romaine or butterhead, or perhaps some nutritious spinach or even some peppery rocket. Herbs are another brilliant option for your first DWC adventure. Fragrant basil, refreshing mint, or even some lovely coriander can thrive beautifully. Starting with these less demanding plants will build your confidence and give you a real feel for how the DWC system works its magic. Section 8. Nurturing your crop tips for a jolly good harvest. Once your plants are settled into their new DWC home, your role shifts to that of a caring guardian. The most important task is managing the nutrient solution. This is your plant's lifeline, their source of all food and water. You'll need to monitor its strength, often measured by electrical conductivity, EC, or parts per million, ppm, using an appropriate meter if you have one. Different plants have different preferences, but your nutrient packaging should offer good guidelines. As plants grow, they consume nutrients and water, so the solution will change. Regularly topping up with fresh water and completely changing the nutrient solution every 1 to 2 weeks is generally a good practice to keep things fresh and balanced. Alongside nutrient strength, keeping an eye on the pH level of your solution is absolutely crucial. As we discussed, most plants in hydroponics like a pH between 5.5 and 6.5. Section 9, the sweet reward, harvesting and looking ahead. And then comes the moment we've all been waiting for, the harvest. There's truly nothing quite like the satisfaction of picking your very own homegrown produce, especially when you've nurtured it from a tiny seedling in your DWC system. For leafy greens like lettuce or spinach, you can often start harvesting the outer leaves once the plant is established, perhaps after 4 to 6 weeks. This cut-and-come-again method allows the plant to continue producing, giving you a steady supply. For herbs like basil or mint, simply snip off the sprigs you need. The freshness and flavor will be unparalleled, a world away from shop-bought alternatives. The joy of DWC hydroponics doesn't just end with your first harvest. It's an invitation to experiment and learn more. Each growing cycle teaches you something new, and you'll find your confidence and skills blossoming alongside your plants. Happy growing, and may your DWC adventures be filled with lush greenery and bountiful harvests.